This is Atlas Thugged. As much as we have, it's currently a media blackout right now. It's about a 10-minute video here. Get the libertarians out of this party, dude. Part of a new series I'm going to be running called Bot or Not.
I grew up as a white man, and you're the exact opposite, you know?
It's time we have a difficult conversation about race.
40 IQ points it needs to think about what is being told to you.
Most people are just blatantly apathetic to what goes on around in their surroundings, let alone this blatantly.
A trans woman's penis make you gay?
Can I try to answer that comment?
The dating market is for men your age. I'm not a misogynist, I'm a sexist. Right, like for example, like as a white man, I can go out and I could go right here in Columbus and scream the N-word as loud as I wanted to because I have that privilege. Those who would sacrifice a little freedom for a little convenience serves neither.
Titan says, Browns should be for whites. We were just trying to help them run a better empire.
Hey, truth.
But she's straight up, she's like, stock market. She's like, bro, like, I can't even buy a fucking house. Like,
And, probably doesn't help that half the comments are, oh, you're not banned on YouTube. Man, how is this guy? How's this guy not banned on YouTube? It's like, yeah, I'm sure YouTube probably picks up on those things. And they're probably wondering why so many people are saying that,
and all these top brass pundits who have some kind of association or relationship with Epstein, it's getting to the point where you got to think like I'm about to go look at my residential history and be like, did I live next to Epstein for like some time? Like, man, everyone on this planet must have some relation to Epstein. And then you go, oh, actually, no. This is because the administration is all wrapped in together with it themselves.
and I said this maybe about a year ago, what if Christianity wasn't in such a cucked position that what if Andrew Tate, like Tristan, would have went to a Christian position? Fell for it again award, #1 right here. And you know what? I can't even make fun of the audience because I fell for it too. And that's probably what I'm most pissed about. He's huffing some extreme copium. Oh yeah, sister, you definitely owned him. Hey, can I see you after tonight? It's like that's that's what you're competing up against because or bad jacketing him and calling him a weird little gay.
Is this like alt-right corpse husband? What am I listening
Yeah.
Okay, stop it. This guy's gonna get into statistics, stuff like that.
Oh, no, statistics. Not
So-
we don't do statistics.
Hello and welcome in to another episode of Offensively Accurate, hosted by yours truly. And guess what? We messed up on the international guest time once again. I rechecked messages. It was confirmed to me for 3 p.m. Let me move this out of the way, actually. Let me get this chat out of the way. It was confirmed to me for 3 p.m. I read through the notes again. I did the math when I was reading the messages. It turns out it's actually 4 p.m. We were both wrong. This is the second time this has happened. Probably done. I'm going to leave the scheduling for international people to somebody else. That is for sure. But with that being said, just like Biggest Dickus, I'm going to be keeping my eye on the messages as well as Discord. So once he gets in here, we're going to run fast through an interview, largely because I have already agreed to make an appearance with Tyler Russell on his kick stream there with Future Nation, the original host of Canada First. But we have plenty to get into. As always, I'm somebody who reads the news quite a lot, so I always have a backup plan, so we're in good hands here. A few announcements though. I was a little behind on some of the Spotify and Apple Podcast episodes. Those were uploaded today if you wanted to listen to them there. Obviously, again, I will be appearing with Tyler Russell. It's going to be around 5 o'clock today. Meaning if Mr. Alexandre Gazur doesn't get here until around 4 or so, I'm only going to be able to run like a 30-40 minute interview with him. But we will try to stay on line that long, but there's plenty of news to go through. So no concerns there. And obviously smash the like button. If you don't, I will hunt you down with the super predator that stabbed the Ukrainian refugee, because everybody knows he's getting out of jail in 2 weeks. I will pay him to hunt you down if you do not smash that like button and subscribe. I actually avoided that story in particularly because I felt like there was no way I'd be able to cover it without risking the YouTube channel. To be quite honest with you, that is ultimately where my anger is with that. There's been some great posts from Michael Spangler, calling for men to, to be angry, angry with the cause. He was outlining Matthew. Obviously not a good look. And I think ultimately, whether you want to call it the straw that broke the camel's back, it's now putting the mainstream conservatards, thank you for the membership there, Tix Member, I appreciate it very much. The Benny Johnson, Charlie Kirk, all of the usual suspects, if you will, began vocalizing their disdain with Black culture. And, so Benny Johnson's talking about fatherlessness. You have Fox News and Will Cain talking about race, showing the differences between Daniel Penny and this Iryna chick. And it's a sign of winning, that's for sure. It's a sign that we are obviously pushing at least the right wing to adopt more of these talking points. This has been a running theme of the last couple of months. And then we get big news today, earlier. Nick Fuentes is interviewed by the New York Times. That was sent to me by our good friend here, Adam, also known as Mainstream Dissident. He sent me that this morning. I looked at it. The photo is hilarious. Plenty of aura in that photo, but I do appreciate everybody, being here despite all this stuff going on. So let's go ahead and get into some of these things here. Obviously, we were going to start with a bunch of stuff about Mr. Portuguese Nick Fuentes, the Nick Fuentes Multiverse. But I guess what we can cover for the time being, a couple of things. Ben Shapiro started his media tour. This was the topic of my video yesterday. I would imagine we're going to see some more collaborations from Ben Shapiro by the end of the month, if not one other major one. I expect that's what we'll see. That's what it felt to me, that this was the beginning of a media tour to begin kind of combating some of what is coming from Nick. Now, the one thing that's funny is in the New York Times article, they declared Nick Fuentes the winner between him and Tucker Carlson in the dispute that they had, revolving around who's the Fed, right? Who's the federal asset, right? I'm the kid in Chicago, which was a beautiful moment. Yes, I did shave. I did not want to, but my white mind cannot fathom the black facial hair that I have. So I just had to get rid of it. You can give me shit if you want to. The other running theme that we have, and this is kind of hilarious. Basically, a lot of the clips we're getting out of the left is a lot of them reeling from Nick. They are reeling from how far the Overton window is moving. Now, you can also kind of see this based on the way that Elon Musk is kind of talking about the racial problems. And I think this all kind of goes in line with the fact that you can't stop it. I mean, once certain sentiments get out there in the mainstream and people feel comfortable speaking to them, breathing life into them, you can't stop that. Much like I've seen a lot of these videos from random content creators talking about the JQ with like random black chicks on whatever that monkey app is. It's clearly reaching a certain level of saturation in the market that I believe is going to require some different postulating from the gatekeepers, if you will. But one of the funny aspects is you have Destiny and Hassan Piker have been going back and forth at each other. And the funny element is the reason why they're arguing is like, they're basically arguing which one of them's at more to blame for Nick Fuentes' prominence. Which one of them is more at fault because he is this, because they weren't strong enough to combat those influences. And it's funny, Hassan Piker's looking rough. Hassan Piker has a bunch of gray all around his beard. It's like in the corners. So I'm mogging him on that end. That is a little bit successful there. So let's go to this here. Let's actually go to this bit of Hassan Piker. It's getting clipped around. Make sure I can put it on screen here. This was, we'll make sure I get the right screen capture. Lord have mercy. Going to be this one. Get this pulled up here. I apologize, guys. A little bit behind again, obviously, because I was expecting to have the other guy in here. This is going to be this one. There we go. Perfect. Alrighty. 35 still pretending to be 18. Is Hassan really 35 years old? I mean, I'm getting there, right? Like I'm gonna be 30 here soon. It's not gonna be long before I'm gonna start having gray popping out everywhere for me. But let's go here. Let me grab the right thing, because this is from Hassan Piker. I'm gonna swing it over here actually. Now this is the caption for Fuentes Updates. Hassan Piker is terrified that Nick Fuentes is gaining popularity because he's normalizing an effective, dangerous, race realist framework. Basically, they don't know what to do. They're kind of at odds. Let's take a listen to this. I'll move my big head out of the way.
Neo-Nazi style figures like Nick Fuentes are becoming increasingly more dangerous at a time when there is a real need by the left, by liberals, for bold anti-Trump, anti-fascist voices, and a skilled orator is capable of taking advantage of that void in discourse by routinely undermining Trump, routinely attacking Trump from an understandable perspective, from a real perspective, from a real genuine and valid point of critique, to draw the attention and gain popularity and gain charitability amongst a broader audience, to then slam in and normalize this somewhat effective, dangerous race realist framework.
So in other words, they're terrified. They don't have anywhere to go. I mean, what do you do? What do you say when Nick is having, I don't know, how many clips has it now been? All these different ones. The one that gets me that's hilarious is the real estate one. It's the Jews. You know, blacks wouldn't do that. You know, that clip floating around, and they're being captioned all the time. What do you do? What do you do when you've been at the top for so long? You're the one been getting the likes. Obviously, you know, Twitch has been in your corner. Maybe Destiny less so. But then you see, here's this guy who's had literally the entire world against him, been nuked off of Lord knows how many platforms, is restricted to a certain degree. How I didn't even look into him because I had bought in, you know, this is years ago, but I had bought in from the rhetoric from Tim Pool and Tucker Carlson, and again, the usual suspects that, no, don't listen to this guy. This guy is a literal, you know, neo-Nazi or whatever. And so I always kind of just wrote it off and never looked into him. And to think that this guy was able to command that level of influence and prominence through all of that, compared to Hassan Piker, I mean, like, what does that feel like? I can't even imagine that. Like, you have the institutions at your back and you're still losing. That's got to be brutal. And I'm sure partly there is an element of like how much of it is synthetic and astroturf. I think you see it even more. It's something that I've seen a lot of. I don't know how like rampant it is, and I'm sure you guys have seen it as well too. But these big streamers like Kai Cenat or Speed, even I don't want to throw Speed in there because I don't think I've seen him. But Kai Cenat I know I've seen, and many others who have basically been accused of view botting. And you'll see it sometimes where the viewer numbers will change by like 10 or 20,000 for a little bit, and then it comes back, and it's like, that's not normal. Sure, there could be issues on the back end, but they compare chats. That was the one that really kind of broke it open for me. I saw one that compared the chats between XQC and Kai Cenat, and XQC had like half the viewership. So Kai Cenat had like 90,000 live viewers or something. XQC had like 40. But if you compared the chats over like a time lapse, it was clear that XQC's was way more active. Now, sure, there could be a lot more like lazy viewers of Kai Cenat, but I do think there are elements of it. And so it's hard to tell how much of it is actual true influence anymore, but that's kind of leading into the dead internet theory. There were some other clips from Destiny as well, kind of on the same framing, but less so focused on Nick. He was more so focused on Hassan, because again, they're arguing over which of these cucks is more to blame for, you know, Nick rising and them not being good enough for men to, you know, move to them. But let's face it, at a certain point, I mean, like, I don't care how liberal you are, even most liberal men, like, why would you want to be like Destiny? I mean, the dude is literally a punching bag. He's become a punching bag over the last 2 years. He's a joke now. I mean, he's been a joke, but even more so now that the Overton windows kind of validated that he's a joke. And who wants to be like that? Hassan, I could get a little bit, because some guys probably just look at him and they're like, oh, I want to be a bit more like him in terms of just like the ethos. Left is losing. And that's part of it too. Like, it doesn't even matter right now, right? Like, the left has no power, really. Like, the woke obviously still has strength because it is a peripherally saturated element. People just have kind of adopted it, normalized it, and internalized it. But in terms of the pundits and the actual thought leaders that exist in that camp, they might as well just pack it up at this point. I mean, you might as well just go home. Like, you're absolutely losing. I mean, for one, if you're losing to Charlie Kirk, that's one thing. But then secondarily, you go beyond that. It's like, okay. PNF is in Discord. Let's do this, guys. Okay, we got PNF. Let me swing this over. It's just going to take me a second to make sure I get this correct. Apologies, guys. Again, normally I'm not this unprofessional. I learned my lessons pretty hardcore. I'll put this up on here. While I'm doing this, I need to go back into the actual Discord. We have there we go. Okay, sorry. I had to make sure it's the right guy. Okay, we're bringing him in. He's in the green room right now. I'm creating an invite. And I got to change the permissions to allow him into the private channel. Because again, we're just a bit bigger than we normally have been. But I do appreciate that, Donnie. Thank you very much, man. But okay, we'll get this started very, very soon. Let me grab Mr. That Guy, which is funny. I think it's like a very common name used by a lot of guys when they don't want to put anything crazy for a username. So there we go. He's been invited in. And I'm going to tag him. Join the hashtag. Again, apologies, guys. As soon as he gets in here, we should be good to go. Portugal for the Portuguese. Yes, okay, there we go. So now he's in here. We got him in here now. Oh, hey, what is going on? Hey, that's perfect. Let me get my camera situated.
Are you streaming right now?
Yes, I am, sir.
Can I just get a link just so I can see?
Oh, yeah. Let me, man, guys, do I even have my YouTube pulled up? Let me grab this. I'm sorry, we're botching it hardcore right now, but it's gonna be okay. Let me send this to you. I'm gonna put it in the welcome room. I'll reply to you again so you can see it.
Yeah, right.
So there you go. That's the link to the YouTube. We are live.
Okay, there it is.
Over. Okay, so I
Let
need
me
to
also post this on my Telegram and Discord too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Make sure you don't have anything. Oh yeah, definitely share it. Yeah, I think you said don't put anything up. But I'm gonna deactivate my camera real quick on here. That way I can activate it in Discord. So okay, wow, this is beautiful. Let's do this. Oh, it's just out of my reach. Okay. I am in here, and then whenever you're ready, you're able to turn your camera on. I'm good to go, man.
Yeah, I have it. Yeah, because when I saw your message, I didn't have my stuff set up yet because I thought it would be 1 hour from now. That was actually my fault because when we were in the messages, we noticed, oh, it's 5 hours apart because when you said it's 8:37, when you said it was 3:37, your message said 8:37 for me. So you're 5 hours behind. But then I said, oh, good. So let's schedule it at 3 for you, which is 9 for me. which is a 6-hour difference. So that was completely, I just did the math wrong. So let me set myself up here. Let me just wait a second.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I had thought that when I hadn't seen any response from you, and I was like, I'm gonna go do the math real quick. Actually, I'm gonna go look at the message and see what time. And then I realized I was like, wait a minute, that would be 4, not 3. And I was like, dang it. Okay. I was like, I'll go live anyways. I'll see if you can make it. But perfect. I'm glad you're able to join. It looks like he's getting that set up, guys. Do appreciate everybody flowing in here. Let me I'm gonna reorient myself with the outline that we have here. But I'm sure if you guys don't know, we'll go ahead and run through the open here. You know, joining me today is somebody who recently went viral, you know, for how similar in appearance and behavior they are to Nick Fuentes. And they also came out on the good side of a feud amongst the Nick Fuentes multiverse, which I thought was hilarious and I didn't even know existed. But ladies and gentlemen, yeah, this is going to be Alexandre Gazur. Apologize if I didn't pronounce that correctly. But he runs Portugal Primero, which is a YouTube channel that I'm surprised still exists. I'm surprised you've not been taken off the face of the internet yet. But just give him some time. He's getting his camera and stuff ready because we did have a bunch of time. So sure, just give him a few moments there. I'll go ahead and fill up the space while he's getting ready. Hopefully it won't be too much of an issue. But some of the stuff I wanted to cover, actually, you know, obviously what, you know, how and why this even occurred. And I do think it was cool that he had that viral moment. I'm sure most people in here probably watched, and if they didn't, they can. The video there that I had made was called the Nick Fuentes Multiverse. Now, the funny aspect about all of this is, matter of fact, Tyler Russell, if you weren't here at the beginning of the stream, is who I'm going to be appearing on his show directly after this. And he was the first copycat. Tyler Russell was the founder of Canada First. And he ultimately got, what's the right word? Poisoned the well. If you look him up, you can find largely like a lot of his previous accomplices. I hate to say accomplices. His previous friends and like moderators, people in his community were all like painted and posted all over this hatewatch.ca Canada org, you know, doxing all of them. He's in the US now, and good for him, because who wants to be in Canada? But it is funny how this all kind of is connecting. But I think the theme is largely that every single one of these guys, whether it's Mr. Alexandre here with us right now, or Tyler Russell, or Mr. British Nick Fuentes, and there's a couple other ones, they were inspired by the level of rhetoric that was coming from Nick. And I think that's what they took from that. Now, perhaps some people might be irritated because they took maybe too much. But the idea was that they wanted that level of commentary present in their own communities, in their own side of the political aisle. And I think that's a pretty great thing. And I think it's honestly, you know, it goes in lockstep with everything we know about Nick, which is very inspirational. He's a breath of fresh air. Even if vulgar, he is a breath of fresh air. So I'm not sure if Mr. Alexandre is ready. It looks like he's still muted on Discord. Oh, there we go.
I'm turning myself on, just making sure everything is set up correctly.
Perfect.
All right, I think everything should be working for the Discord. I've never done this for the Discord, so I had to set up all the tech stuff right now.
Oh,
But
word.
it should be working. You can hear me, you can see me just fine.
Yeah, you sound
right?
perfect. Yeah, I might turn you up actually a little bit.
Right.
Sound very smooth, man. Yeah, bust this up a little bit. Okay. Well, man, let's let's get this started. I know it was super botched.
Right.
But again, you know, ladies and gentlemen, this is Alexandre Gazur. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. And let's just
You're
get this
not, but it's just no point in trying to pronounce it correctly because there's Portuguese people who can't pronounce it. So what does it matter? What
Word.
does it matter? It's Gazur, but whatever.
Word. Okay. Okay. Well,
And I hate when foreigners try to say that's not the correct way to pronounce it, like a foreigner like you is supposed to know, right?
right. I gave it my best effort. Like I tried.
Yeah, good enough.
Well, I mean, you tell me, man, who are you, sir? And what do you do?
I just wanted to say one thing before we start is that you, because this is a friendly interview, obviously, you gave me the general gist in a Word document about what we were gonna say,
Yeah.
what we were gonna talk about, but I intentionally did not read it because I believe interviews are much more fun when you're not caught up to speed on what's going to be asked. If you
Right.
can prepare for it, then like what's the fun, right? So
Very
I
true.
just saw like the first few things, which is the introduction, which is kind of obvious. But other than that, I decided not to read it. So who I am, like the people here probably saw the Twitter clip. I am just a Portuguese YouTuber. Like you were saying before, I thankfully haven't been taken off the platform. But the YouTube channel that you know me from, which is Portugal Primeiro with com Alexandre Gazur,
Yeah.
that is technically my third channel. The other two, when I got like 300 subscribers, I was under risk by strikes. And how YouTube works is if you're permanently banned on one channel, you can never make a channel again. So
Yeah.
I just decided, okay, well, while these channels have 2 strikes and any one more strike could permanently ban me off the platform, I just decided, okay, I'll just go to another channel and start from 0, which gives you a lot more leeway.
That's
So
something I've
that's
thought
good.
myself. Early on,
Mhm.
I got a strike very, very early on. I think that was in the period where it was allowing you to turn it into warnings if you like did the training. So I think
Yeah.
I'm only at 1 strike right now. I have thought about that, but it started taking off for me, and it's like, well, I mean, what do you do? You want to take advantage of it, of the best influence you can. Um,
That's true.
but that's
I'm
the
just
part I'm
turning
kind of
on the
curious
light
about.
here.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Take some time. I do like the green
You can
screen.
keep talking. You can keep talking.
Oh, you can hear me? Okay.
I can hear you. Yeah.
So I guess the next thing that I would ask, I think most people here probably have an idea of who you are. So I'm curious then, how does somebody like you in a whole other country find out who Nick Fuentes is when even here in America, he's banned off of all of the main platforms?
Uh, well, it's actually I I have a hard time remembering. My memory isn't actually that good. Even though
Okay.
I'm still a young person, I don't have Alzheimer's, but it looks like I'm walking that way. Nick
That's funny.
Fuentes, I don't remember exactly when I started watching him, but I'm fairly certain with the way things lined up about like somewhere around where I started watching the streams, what I remember is that it was very shortly after he was banned, I think, from YouTube, and he started streaming on D Live. Uh, and the way I found him, I'm pretty sure I used to browse like 4chan's pool, and people were always mentioning him, but I never like cared who he was because they mention a lot of people. I'm not gonna go look at every person they mention.
Right.
But I think it must have been something I either saw on Twitter or a YouTube video that popped up or something. Maybe something related with Sargon of Akkad. I don't even remember, honestly, or other people
Interesting.
in that sphere. But somehow that way I found those people. And the way I was in that space in the first place was because I was that typical kid, I think, at when it was 2016, I was what, 14 years old?
Dang.
I
Okay.
was that kid that like watched feminist rec compilations on YouTube in
Yeah.
2014, 15, 16, who was part of the culture war against the SJWs from Tumblr and stuff. So it was just a natural gravitation with the YouTube algorithm at the time. That's how I found him.
That's pretty awesome. It is kind of cool to see that no matter what, even with all the censorship like parameters around, that bits and pieces can still find their way around. And I think part of that's true. You can see it on Instagram now. All of these clips running wild of like if Nick Fuentes was my real estate agent, and he was like, blacks would never do that. Jews did that. I think that's
Yeah, I
hilarious.
saw those. Yeah.
And
That is really funny. But the thing you're talking about, the censorship parameters, is like it's because at that time they didn't exist. That's
right.
like the thing so many like older Zoomers don't know because they grew up in a censored internet was that back then you could like just say the N word on YouTube. You could like watch an iDubbbz video if you remember, if you're from that time, of
Right.
him like going up to this girl who's like this total bitch influencer and going, "Hey, N word," like the actual hard R, and it's totally fine. And he makes an entire video around that, and it gets like 2 million views easy.
Right.
That right now, that's crazy to think about, but back then, that's just how it was.
I think it's funny that you say that because I do think there's an element of like the young kids yearn for like the Wild West internet,
Mhm.
which is why they're so many of them just don't care. And I think that's partly synonymous with the anonymous accounts. Whereas back in that era in 2014, there weren't that many anonymous accounts. Most people used their first name, last name. They put themselves out there. And nowadays, when somebody comments, it's not Sue Ann. It's, you know, it's Mac Pow, it's metal. You know, like just grabbing a random name from the chats there. And it is kind of curious. And that's one element of it too, which is people don't understand. Like if they're getting used to Nick now, they really don't understand how badly he was basically scrubbed off the internet for about a 5-year period. And so when most people kind of, you know, are getting used to him now, there's a few of us in between who kind of knew of him before then.
Yeah, dude, it's so insane. If you like have tried looking at YouTube content around Nick Fuentes from before this year, like I remember the most egregious example I've ever seen of how hard they go on YouTube to scrub his existence off the platform was some groiper, like, you know, because groipers try to upload Nick shows on YouTube and they try various ways. And every time, you know, the last method doesn't work, they just innovate and they create something more. And the one, like the most egregious one was someone made when the AI voicing tools were still into its early stages. Someone put an entire Nick show with Patrick Starr's voice from SpongeBob, and it was just like Patrick first, like an edited image of America first, and it was Patrick Starr, you know, with that meme going, like that's just the only image in the video for 2 hours, and it's just Nick's show, but with Patrick Starr's voice, and let that survive for like 2 weeks max, and it had like 500, 300 views, like that's nothing.
Yeah.
And they still scrub it. It's crazy. It's so insane.
Well, that kind of goes to the element of there's clearly a manual element to it, which is like you can't believe that some video like that got reported that many times that YouTube saw it. You have to think that there's some manual element where there's some, whether it's AI or they have people, you know, they're hiring Indians, they're searching through and they're looking up like anything Nick, right? They probably have his voice down. So when they see his voice is picked up on the channel or on YouTube in general, they'll probably highlight and flag that video. It's just, it's crazy the elements they'll go to. I wanted to go to the,
I think,
oh, go ahead.
I just want to say, I think the way they did it in a lot of examples and also in that specific example is that they, because, you know, how do we find these channels? Like you're not going to search Patrick Starr, Nick Fuentes, whatever, like obviously
right.
You would never think of that. So like they, you know, there's like a few Twitter accounts back then who would like repost, oh, haha, I started this. And then it spreads to like, I don't know, 20 people. And there's literally like people undercover in like right-wing Twitter back at the time when, you know, if you tweet got more than 100 likes, your account would be permabanned if you're a right-winger. And like they were literally doing that. It's like Secret Service Mossad level operation. Again, that's like how insane it is. It would be one thing if it was AI, but this is on another level. It's stalking. It's literally like stalking levels.
Well, I know it. Well, it's basically they took how they do it IRL, which is, you know, they will have federal assets basically disseminated throughout all of these different kind of categorically different institutions. Same way like the collectivization doesn't work in America anymore is you get 30 guys in a room, 2 of them probably work for the government. And it's hard to just know like, and you have to have these like insane vetting processes. I had kind of been privy to, I don't know how familiar you are with some of the groypers, but there's a couple others that are kind of gaining prominence, one of them being Pine Sap. And I believe the way that they organize, or maybe it's Tyler Russell's whose Discord's organized like this. It's like 3 tiers. It's like you have to join this server first. And if we vet you enough, we think you're not an asset, you can go to the second server. We vet you enough there, you can go to the actual server because people are so terrified. And we saw it with the Gretchen Whitmer stuff, right? It was like a Discord of, I think, 40 guys, but only 2 of them were actually like not government guys. It's like all 24 of them were FBI agents trying to convince the 2 guys to go do this insane plot. And it's hard to tell. It's always generally just hard to tell. And they do it digitally as well. But I wanted to move to the moment that sparked your virality, which was the British Nick Fuentes, and you kind of smacking him down with some of his, like, I guess, subversion of Nick. And I guess kind of walk us through that. And was that the first time, like, you had been privy to this British Nick, or did you know him from before this moment?
Yeah, I had literally never seen him before. His show is also super new. When he went viral like that, I think he had like 6 episodes on his YouTube. So he is very new to this scene. Although he already had a Twitter account with like 70,000 followers, I think. So he was already a Twitter guy, and then he started doing a show, and that's how I think he gained prominence. But I actually didn't go viral when I started attacking him. That was just me like, well, I did that because, I thought it was the right thing to do, of course, but
Right.
also the I was doing that also to like, enhance the moment. It's like, all right, when I have these many eyes on me, I'm gonna do something with it, and I multiplied it basically. God gave me 2 seeds and I made 4.
Right.
But the original moment of virality that I had, I don't know if that's how you say it in English. The original
Close enough.
viral moment was actually because the Twitter account Antunes, I don't know if you know the guy, the
No.
Portuguese Twitter account that's, post right-wing stuff,
Uh-uh.
memes. It's just, the other account that also posted me called like Hayasuka Aryan or something.
Yeah. Caio Guga's Top Gal.
Yeah, exactly. It
Yeah.
was it basically an account in that orbit. The guy
Okay.
happens actually to be Portuguese, and he knows me. We know each other personally, and we're actually like part of the same party. We've gone to events. We know each other,
Oh,
and
and
he just
Tunes.
decided. Yeah, exactly. When he saw the British Nick guy, he said, "Well, guess what? There's also a Portuguese Nick guy," and he used his account to boost me to make me viral. So I'm very thankful for him, actually. Like, he's
Yeah.
really the main reason why all of this happened.
Well, that's awesome. I follow him. I am familiar with who he is. And you're spot on. He's one of those Nick clippers, like Kaiser Rev, Cayuga's Top Gal, Grimaldis, Fuentes updates. There's more of them now too. There used to only be a couple that were pretty strong at it. Now there's like 10 of them, and they all have like 100,000 followers. I'm like, man, maybe I should have done that.
Yeah.
I thought
It
that
was like Bitcoin, when Elon bought Twitter.
right, yeah, I should have got in at the start. And with British Nick, there is a clear kind of different energy with him. When I watched, because I made a video kind of covering both of you guys, I kind of did a short compilation between both of you, and I picked up like Milo Yiannopoulos energy from him. It was kind of like not really Nick, but it was like it almost was. And so the closest comparison I have to that is like it's like Milo. And then I kind of caught all these little clips of him making like these kind of weird jokes, and then he had like the pride flag behind him, which he explained away. I guess I kind of get that a little bit, but I think anybody who doesn't do the full wrap up like you, which is like full energy, full throttle, everyone's gonna go like, there's something up with this guy. Is he a plant? Like, are you here to just kind of co-opt the movement? And so, walk me through that too. Like, how much flack do you get for being like so close to Nick, if you will?
Well, I think I also posted a video. I think it was in Portuguese, so maybe you didn't see it. But it's because, like, English people, they're now figuring this out. But like Portuguese people, especially leftists, have been calling me, Portuguese Nick Fuentes for a long time. But like always in a derisive, like it's supposed to be an insult.
Right.
And what I said in the clip, it's like, to me, it's not an insult because everyone loves Nick. I hope one day everybody loves me for being able to deliver political analysis like him. That's
Right.
that comparison has always been done. But obviously, the way I do my show, I don't avoid trying to do that comparison because I think Nick's way of doing the show is just like if you want to do a monologue where you're talking about serious political events, that's just like with the background, with the suit to a camera, there's really no better way. Like it's perfected.
I
So
completely agree.
anything different, any derivative would be worse by default.
Right, exactly. I don't know if you're familiar with Foundations, but it's the sci-fi show, and it's largely about
No.
this. It's like a genetic dynasty where the guy never wanted to have a son. He just wanted to be an emperor forever. And so what he does is every like 40 years he clones himself, and then a new version of him takes over. But they get like 10 generations down the line, and these clones are clones of clones of clones, and they're nothing like the original. They're falling apart. They're getting schizophrenic. They're like, they're having all these issues. but you're actually you're completely spot on. Well, so explain to me a bit about Portugal politics, because I am assuming that you guys have to probably be experiencing some of the same level of like, being flooded with immigrants and some of the same problems America's facing, because I would imagine if that's what Nick largely speaks about, the same things must be happening in Portugal. So kind of give me a gist of like, where is Portuguese economics? How involved is Israel? And how many Mossad operatives are listening right now?
Well, the thing you have to know about Israel and Jews is that if they like are trying to control a country like America, they really only go for countries that matter. So America, England, France, Germany, Portugal. No one gives a shit about Portugal, including
Word.
Israel. They don't care. Like our you see, and I don't know how much this is the same in other European countries, but our entire media is like every day shitting on Israel. It's like, how can you be controlled by Israel when your media is saying that, And our
Word.
government, it's like they like half-heartedly support Israel. When they got attacked on October 7th, they put the flag of Israel as a show of solidarity, and then they did nothing else for until now. They're going to recognize Palestine. It's
Word.
not
Yeah.
really like we're controlled one way or the other. It really is just like it's just normal white people, mainly like boomer politicians, who have this or that idea about this or that Middle East conflict, It's
Word.
really not that. The only connection you could make is that our president, people accuse him of being like half Jewish or something, but like at the same time, if you know a bit about our history with abortion, every single time our like super left-wing government tries to do something to increase abortion in any way, we always have our president there to shut everything down, like to instantly veto everything. It's like abortion is legal, but it's like, it's only legal up to this or that or the other. And every time they try to increase that margin, like he shuts it down. It's like, our, normal way that we consider Jews, would a Jew do that? Like, I don't really think so.
Word. Okay. That's fair then. So what are the biggest issues facing you guys? Because I see forgive me if I'm saying it wrong, but I see remigration, not only just from Portugal, but from other countries as well. And I'm kind of curious, is that like your guys' version of mass deportations?
Yeah, because our immigration problems are very different from the United States, which is unfortunate because a lot of right wing political commentators think that our immigration issue is just like yours, so they just copy all the points without really understanding it. And for you to understand
Interesting.
our immigration issue, it's really simple. Like, it's not that complicated. Your issue mainly is illegal immigration. People jump the border, they're not citizens their whole life, they're just there illegally. They are like breaking the law. Like, okay, just deport the illegals. Everyone understands that. But in a country like Portugal, the way our immigration system works, if you come here, and it quite literally does not matter how you arrive here, legally or illegally, you can just go, even if you have no documents, you can just go to the consulate or wherever, next closest building that can do these functions and just say, oh, I lost my documents. Can I like apply for new ones? Okay, yes. And while you're applying for new ones, you automatically get to stay here. And because you get to stay here, you have a residency permit, which means you're allowed to live here. And anyone that lives here for an X amount of years can eventually apply for citizenship. So, like, literally any illegal can come here and it instantly become legal. So the problem isn't we have to deport the criminals or the illegals. The problem is the legals. And that's where remigration comes in, where we say, this idea that unfortunately a lot of right-wing politicians still spout on despite being completely wrong because, it's easy rhetoric and it's
Right.
imported from the United States. This whole thing about just deporting illegals, it's not enough. It's nowhere near enough. It doesn't apply to here. So we have to do something different. And remigration, a lot of people have different concepts of what it is, but we've already, at least with Reconquista, we've already explicitly defined it, which is a multi-step process where we eventually get rid of most of the legal immigrants here who arrive from the third world. You know, the first step would be we like block any entry. Obviously, we block more people from coming here. That's the first step to, you know, if your bathroom is flooding, you first thing is shut off the tap water, obviously.
Right.
But then the second, third, and fourth, it's like, okay, second, we're going to implement restrictions that immigrants benefit from so that they stop benefiting from them. And a lot of them, the only reason they're here and not in another country is because of these benefits. So a lot of them would just, you know, self-deport, self-immigrate out of here. And then the next steps would be more and more aggressive, where it's like, okay, and then all the criminals, and then all the people who don't have jobs, and then all the people that we consider shouldn't be here. And then eventually we arrive at it's a mostly white country again.
Interesting. And thank you for the super chat from 286867, I think is the username there. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Well, wild, because I guess I kind of already knew that intuitively. Like, you guys probably have less just physical barriers to access compared to the United States. Like, obviously, we recently built this wall, but even without the wall, you couldn't just walk across the border and be handed a visa. Sounds like much easier anywhere else besides the United States. And the legal immigration is also like that. That's going to be that'll be the next pin, I believe, in American politics, because it's like 55 million legal immigrants, and I think it's like anywhere from 40 to 65. It depends on who you look at for illegal. So we got basically 350 million people in this country, and a third of them are immigrants, you know, whether legal or illegal. So I'm kind of curious, because this is a question we get asked too, and I get asked often as well. With this remigration, obviously you want to kill all of the, well, forgive the language. You want to get rid of all of the incentive structure. You want to remove everything that makes it so these people want to be there. I think that's great, right?
Exactly.
So then how far do you go back, right? How long, or maybe there's no limit at all. How long would somebody have to then be in Portugal for you to consider them like they've passed some threshold? Or like, okay, maybe we'll let them stay. They've been here for 5 generations. They've assimilated somewhat. Or is it not at all?
Well, the thing about, you know, being American or being well, actually, my dog's here.
That's awesome.
Well, there he is.
What's up, bud?
He just wants a few pets, right?
He
But
wants attention.
the problem, you know, look at him looking at me. Yeah. Well, but the problem with what were you saying? Can you repeat it with the staying here? Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem with saying that, it's like, you know, I think it's a little bit different with America because, you know, quite literally, America is a nation of immigrants in the literal sense, where the white people immigrated there from Europe. It's not the same exactly as Portugal, but I think it applies about the same, which is you don't become Portuguese by living here an X amount of time. The same way, like if a Martian from Mars came and lived in the North Atlantic Ocean, he wouldn't become a North Atlantese. You don't become an American as a Mexican just because you live there for 2, 3, 10, 100 generations. You're still Mexican.
Right.
So I actually just reject the whole thing. I don't think that applies. But I do understand because, you know, some fucking retard from the right-wing party was criticizing us like 2 days ago. And I was rebuking him on the show, rebuking and rebutting him. And
Is it the bald guy?
He said is like, oh, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
exactly.
I saw some of that.
He was saying like, oh, remigration, you just want to kick out everyone who has a different skin color from you. It's like, that's not true because, you know, it's a minority. It's a very small minority, I will admit. But there are some. For you, it would be black people, but for us, it would be like, you know, it could be some Brazilians, some Indians, some whatever, who do assimilate, who do care, and despite being from a completely different race or ethnicity, they could be here without much issue. So, yeah.
Well, that's kind of how I feel too, right? Like, there's tan white people the same way there's pale white people, right? Like, there's even changes in skin color among inside the races there. And I think that's the one thing that
I don't, well, for one, I know that American right wing politicians are 98% all gatekeepers. So they're not going to move to that position. But that's the position we need. And I think it's kind of wild. And I've said this a few times too. You know, did you see any of the Matt Walsh What Is a Woman documentary?
No, that like I saw like 2 seconds of it and I just wanted to rip my hair out, like rip my face out, like to just stop the cringe. So I just didn't want to watch anything. But what did he
No.
say?
Well,
You can tell me.
Well, the idea is you can ask a left wing person, you go, what is a woman? They can't answer it because it puts them up against like their cult ideology, which is a woman can be a man, a woman can be a dog, you know, like, because it's just like, it's nonsensical. It's this crazy cultural Marxism. But if you turn the gun towards a right winger here in the States and you say, what is an American? They do the same thing. They go, well,
They can't say white.
you know, exactly. They can't define it. And I've always thought that's a huge issue because how are you going to organize a mass deportation campaign, but you can't define who is the person who's supposed to be here? That's obviously made like critical. And I don't see us even in the near couple of years moving to that. I think there's even among like Christian nationalist groups here, I think there's a strong kind of hesitancy to say, no, an American is a white European, you know, a WASP, right? A white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. That is the majority of who built this country. And so, but at a certain point we'll have to. And I think that's kind of what's going on is we're going to get that, whether it's going to be a nice way to go about it or whether it's going to be, you know, a poor or worse way to go about it. And so I'm kind of curious, you know, it feels like in America, the tensions are rising. I think we're going to see a lot more kind of like street action. Unfortunately, people are probably going to get hurt. What's that like in Portugal? Are people like in the streets yet? Like, what's the level of activism you guys have on your side of the aisle?
Well, I see, and it's a bit weird compared to America, but I believe I don't know how many like protests you have in America, especially considering it's such a huge country. There's probably like, you know, some states that don't have any activity, others that have it all the time.
Right.
But here in Portugal, you know, there are rallies and protests about everything and everyone at any time. It could be like activist groups, it could be political groups, it could be whatever. And for like literally any cause, a lot of the times it's not even like political. It's like, oh, we demand worker rights. Oh, the nurses aren't being paid enough, like whatever.
Right.
But specifically for the right wing, you know, there are, it's a small country. So I think I can go to every example. There are these like basically like skinhead groups who do retard rallies all the time, and they're just like, you know, beer guzzling guys who do the rally and then go to the bar. So I don't think I would really count them, but they are kind of protests. I guess they do exist. Then there's protests by our group, Reconquista, who, you know, we aren't that big, so we can't do that many protests, but we also do them. We do not exactly just protests, but also street activism, like man on the street interviews, putting up signs, flyers, etc., to raise awareness. And then the main one for the right wing is the Chega Party. Every time they want to set up a protest, it's like, you know, fucking 10,000 people in the street. For a country of 10 million, that's a lot.
Right.
Thousands of people in one street in Lisbon. But, you know, normally the cause, it's not that great. It's, I think, what was the last one? I think the last protest was actually pretty good. But, you know, the ones before that, it was something like, you know, we have to defend our cops or whatever. And, like, not that many people actually showed up, even though, like, that's one of their big flags. I think people are just getting fed up of the cops, honestly. I'm one of the, like, main people on the right wing who is always shitting on the cops. I don't miss a beat to talk shit about the blue every single time. Because they're just such scum, you know, and America is the same thing. It's like you get pulled over for like going 2 kilometers over the speed limit, and then you look at the other street. It's like, oh, some news report about like a Brazilian gang hanging a decapitated person's head over like a bridge over some road or something, and like no one gets caught ever. It's like, really?
No, I completely
or
agree
like
with you.
sorry, or like gypsies. I know you guys don't have gypsies, but we do. You're like driving on the road, and then some like piece of shit van, white van, like shows up in front of you. It's just, the engine is so fucked up, it's burning all of the oil. All of the oil is getting evaporated into you with all the smoke. And it's like, you just know as soon as you pass by, you're gonna see a gypsy man driving, his fat, disgusting fucking wife, gypsy wife, on the other seat. And, they're breaking, for the car to be in that state, they're breaking like 100 rules. Cops never pull them over. Ever.
Yeah.
0 times.
Yeah, so it's the same thing here in America. It takes different forms, obviously, because like you said, we don't have so many gypsies here. There's probably some, but like non-existent, really. But it's on the same front, which is, I recently actually moved out of. I was in a huge city. I recently, about a couple months ago, I moved out of the city. I couldn't take it. Like, it was like every morning I'm waking up at 7:30. All I can smell is curry and hear gunshots. I was like, okay, it's over. Like, I gotta go. And I had a daughter, so I was getting kind of concerned. I don't want to raise her in the city. But the same issue applies there, which is, I used to Uber. When I was broke, I kind of still am broke, but I would Uber a lot. And it was kind of like my second job. So I'm in all these grimy areas of the city, and I see no cop presence. None. Zero. There's no cop anywhere where you need them. So now I'm in CVS, and, everything's locked up. Toothbrushes are locked behind iron cages. You have to, call in Doctor Strange to open a portal to even get into this stuff because it's so locked down. And then where I'm at now, it's connected to a highway, and it just kind of goes straight out to a suburb. All I see every day when I travel into the city, if I have to, there's cops lined up everywhere. And it's because they would rather not put their lives at risk or do anything valuable. They'll just wait to get somebody going 1 mile over the speed limit and give them a ticket because they know it's going to be all decent people on this road. And that defines the current situation. And I think some of our friends outside the Overton, especially as it pertains to cops, there's always this saying of like, well, got to give the good cops their flowers. There's still good cops out there. And I'm sure there are. But to say like there's enough there that it's meaningful to not throw all cops under the bus, I think is ridiculous. I think if there was enough good cops that were good cops, there wouldn't be that many bad cops. Because otherwise, what's the point of being a good cop if you're not preventing the bad cops from doing what they're doing? And so it's kind of like this, this twist there. But it's the same bend here. Like, right-wing politicians are pro-cop, and there's like no nuance, no other further discussion there. But luckily, and I'm sure you've seen this too, this recent story from this Ukrainian refugee, I think her name is Iryna Zarutska. So she came from Ukraine, ground war, came to America. Big, gigantic, super predator black dude with dreads just randomly stabs her in the neck. She dies. And now we're getting footage that there was a camera facing directly on top of her showing some of the people behind. There's like 6 people all sitting around her when it happens. No one even reacts. I mean, like, what level of society do you have to get to where a tiny, like, female girl, like the person you're supposed to protect, right? Like, in image, like, that's who you're supposed to defend as a man, gets stabbed in the neck and nobody even bats an eye. That's, I think, forcing some more of these kind of gatekeeper and right wingers that they have to speak towards these issues or they lose credibility. It's over. Because too many people now are saying like, hey, bro, listen, I don't think it's culture anymore. Like, there's no way this is culture. And people, the commonly used one is, white people listen to rap music too. So where are they out here doing these shootings and looting stores and all these riots and stuff? And so I'm kind of curious. With us, it's blacks, and I think Indians are getting there too. Obviously, Jewish influence. But for you guys, it's gypsies. And what are the influences you guys are experiencing from the third world?
Well, it's important to differentiate. There's gypsies and there's immigrants, because gypsies, they immigrated here, I think 500 years ago from India, and they are a small population and always have been. It's just that their presence is always like felt more because they self-segregate. Black people do live among whites, but gypsies, like, they don't. They're like a completely insular community.
Okay.
So like their presence is exacerbated. It feels like there's more of them, but they're actually very, very small. It's these and because we've always had them. Our country, during our golden age, gypsies were here. They're not really the problem, although they are a problem. It's
Okay.
really the immigrants and the number of them coming in here. Really, it's Africans. We have this because Portugal was an empire. we colonized a lot of Africa and Brazil. And what these countries are now, they're called PALOP, PALOP, which means countries that speak the Portuguese language, but in Portuguese, the signature.
Word. Okay.
Signature, is that how you say it? And what
Interesting.
the relationship that we have with these countries is unlike other countries, because these people speak Portuguese, our politicians like assume they're already like half integrated. So a lot of them can just come in here with way less restrictions than any other country. So what you find in Portugal is exactly these immigrants that, when they have their list of which white first world country am I going to go ruin, they see, oh, Portugal like the easiest one to go to because of these these treaties. I think that's what it is, the PALOP Treaty.
Interesting.
So it's mainly Africans from Angola, because like it's of all the countries, I'm pretty sure it's like the biggest African country of these.
Right.
And then a few other African countries, and then it's Brazil. Brazil has like 130 million people, so they're a pretty big problem. And then I think the smallest ones are the people from the subcontinent of Asia, which is, India, Pakistan, and Nepal. Those are like the three big bad immigrant groups that are causing most of the issues that we are facing right now.
Well, speaking of, two things, but I guess to go to the other one that's more viral. Have you seen any of the uprising in Nepal that happened in the last like 24 hours?
Yeah, I saw that. It doesn't seem like it's gonna like change anything really from what I'm seeing, because I'm pretty sure that country has always been in pretty high tensions, and not that I care about those politics. Maybe I'm saying
Right.
something wrong. I don't know. Not that we care about what they're doing over there, right?
Right.
But I'm pretty sure there's nothing going on there that really matters to either of us, to us two, or anyone in the live chat.
Interesting. Because I was curious if that was, because if you said Nepal is where these people are coming from, I was curious if that uprising would lead to like refugee crisis, and now you're going to get more people from Nepal flowing into Portugal. And then
It doesn't seem like it's going violent yet, honestly, so maybe not.
okay, because what I saw was, what is it? They burned the parliament down. They burned the parliament building down, and then they
Yeah,
chased.
from what I saw, it wasn't the parliament. It was like some museum, so it was more like a symbolic act.
Interesting. Okay, so this is the problem with you getting news. When you get news off of X, is if you give it a couple hours, it turns out it's like it was nothing. It was nothing of what you had read originally. But okay,
Yeah.
interesting. But with that though, Brazil, is it majority like Portuguese speaking? I know there's like a huge Portuguese influence in Brazil. Is it a majority or is it more Brazilian now?
Yeah, Brazil speaks Portuguese, but it's the same thing that's like saying, black people speak English. Well, they speak English like in their own way.
Yeah.
Brazilians speak Portuguese in their own way, which to a Portuguese person, very similar to a black person, it sounds like they're drunk when they're speaking. So yeah, they're Portuguese speaking.
Right. That's funny. Yeah, their own dialectic.
Mhm.
And I guess then tell me, I guess then, because it sounded like you'd said the JQ is like not prominent, or maybe I got it wrong. Is it that Israel is not prominent, but is the JQ still prominent? Because like, for example, in Haiti, when I had an interview with that girl, Casey, and she does a lot of like Nick clipping as well on YouTube. And I look into Haiti has like one billionaire. Can you guess what ethnicity this billionaire is in Haiti?
I can, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious if you have things like that as well. Like, do you still have like in the highest echelons of society in in Portugal's Wall Street, other finance sectors? Is it the same thing? Is that same trend kind of exist?
I think that in banking, I think there is a little bit of a presence, not that big, but there is some. But by the rest of it, it's like I see, because I know a few names of like the rich people in Portugal, millionaire, billionaire, and from what I see, it's just like normal. It's like someone who I think, who's the owner? I, I hope I'm not uh, messing up the name, or messing up the brand, but I think the Delta Coffee, the guy is like Portuguese. It's just a startup from way long ago. And then there's some other rich people who are, they're just Portuguese people who they come from old money, like their family was wealthy like 200 years ago or something. So there really isn't much presence of that. Although, and this is a relatively new phenomenon, in the Chega party, there is some Israeli influence because the leader, André Ventura, I think, if I'm not misremembering, when he was doing his studies, studying law or whatever, one of the countries he went to was Israel. And but he's not Jewish.
He
And
touched the wall.
I think, maybe, I'm not sure. And there's one specific, what would you call him, MP in the party, who like really loves Israel and like he very commonly defends Israel, but that's because like his what do you call the if your dad divorces your mother and then he remarries, what would you call a woman?
Oh, the ex-wife?
Stepmother?
Yeah, well, it'd still be the real stepmother, yeah. Yeah, to the new son.
Mother, yeah, the stepmother.
Yeah.
I think it's because like his I don't think it's his stepmother, or it's someone in the family who has like that kind of connection. I don't really remember.
Right.
No, I'm pretty sure his parents are married. I think it's, damn it, what is it? It's like his wife's, what the fuck is it? Dude, I swear, like I saw this, it was so
it's
long
some
ago,
like matrilineal connection that he's got.
Yeah,
like, some
it's
female
like
in his
his
family.
wife's mother's aunt or his wife's mother's sister, whatever, happens to live in Israel for whatever reason. I don't even think they're Jewish, but because of that, he's like, no, like, what I hear from her is that these Hamas they're like all terrorists and these Palestinians are so bad and Israel has a right to defend itself. It's like, it is there. It's that kind of influence where it's like, it's always present, but it comes up very few times.
Okay.
And like, it's weird, but it's not that weird. Because a lot of, MAGA boomers or right-wing boomers, a lot of them are just by default pro-Israel because they see like, oh, Israel's like us, Judeo-Christian, whatever. Not necessarily because they're receiving $1 million from PACs or something.
Right.
It's like, it's a bit more complicated than in America. In America, it's like, oh, this guy, loves Israel because Israel gives him $1 million. It's like, it's not that simple here.
Right. There's like multiple different elements of it with the involvement here. Like, for example, there's like actually literally like evangelical Christianity in America is entirely subverted by this pro-Zionism like bend. There's like almost not even another camp in evangelical Christianity. It's like owned by that. And so that's kind of like the baseline support. And then you do have exactly what you had said. And I'm glad Nick went at it for a little bit. I've been talking about this for a while. The amount of people who are paid by like influenceable campaigns or being paid out. I mean, you can find news articles too. They just did it with Xavier DeRusso, Emily Saves Austin, or Emily Saves America, and a few of these other like, gatekeeper, right wing, MAGA, boomer, pundit types getting flown out to Israel, getting all the brand new talking points, flooding it out. So there's like two elements. There's like the grifting class, and then there's like the co-opted Christianity class, which actually brings me, it's a great segue to my next point, which is, what is the religious makeup in Portugal? Like, what are the elements? Because if you're getting invaded by immigrants, I would imagine you're also now getting a stronger Islamic influence there too.
You'd think that, because you see like in France and in Germany, that is absolutely true. Because it's there, France, for example, has a lot of immigrants from Algeria because it was like a former colony or something. They have that relationship with them. But in Portugal, the only immigrants who come here and are Muslim I think there's like a very few small people from some African countries and like Pakistanis, and I think some Nepalese. But like, because like I said before, like the biggest immigrant groups are first Brazilians by a lot, then Africans, and then the Indian subcontinent, and then like there's of those, it's like it's India, and then it's Pakistan, and then it's Nepal. The Islamic influence, it actually isn't that big. the right-wing party and the right-wing influences that orbit the party, they like to exaggerate and say we're getting, taken over by the Muslims. Like, really, we're getting taken over by Brazilians. For every one Muslim, there's got to be like 20 Brazilians or something. It's not that much, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, no, I do.
And the religious makeup of our country, we are just straight up a Catholic country. Like, that's just how we are. That's just how it is. Every church, every village has a church, or group of villages has one main church. And every time you walk in there, it's not fucking Protestant. It's not like one cross and then the whole building is empty.
Smoke machines.
There are saints. There's gonna be Mary to the right. There's gonna be probably some other saint or Joseph or someone to the left, and then Christ in the middle, and it's gonna be the traditional Catholic mass. They're not traditional like what you guys talk about, but like just
Right.
the
Traditional to you guys.
how do you say it? Yeah, traditional in the sense like it's post Vatican II, but it's still like that kind.
Interesting. And it-
And unfortunately, the statistics do say that a lot, like 80+% of our country is still Catholic. But because our country is very aged, it's aging, it's a very old population. A lot of the Catholic statistics comes from the old people. If you walk into a church, it is mostly old people, very few young people, whether it's like children or parents, young adults. There are very few of those. So the new generations are very much atheist, unfortunately. They're not Muslim, from the immigrants. They're not Catholic from their parents. They are just mostly atheist.
And it's a parallel observation because it's very similar here, where if you were to go in, like say, it's different in the city because you're going to get a lot more of a different mix up because then you bring in, at least here, you guys probably don't have as much of it because it's Catholic, but here some of our Protestant sects have went full circle, LGBTQ, female priestesses, deacons, they pray to Taylor Swift. It's insane, to be honest with you. It's hard to even stomach. But it seems that through line is there, which is at some point in the last generation, whether it was like me and your parents' generation or a little bit before that Christianity just lost its pull. Like it wasn't, people weren't gravitating towards it anymore. Or maybe it was more so they thought like they didn't need it, or it's a thing of the past. We don't need Christianity in the new age. And I'm kind of curious, in your opinion, like what do you think has led to the downfall of, Christianity? It's been subverted seemingly all the way across the world.
Yeah, from my perspective, I am Catholic, but both of my parents are atheists. I come from an atheist household. And what I think is it really started there with the Gen X people, not even the boomers, because in here, the boomers are Catholic, like straight up. They are religious. They do go to church every Sunday. It really is their children, the Generation X, which, they were the first girls showing skin to college, that sort of shit. They
Right.
were listening to the Beatles. They were getting the radio, the television. And I think it really started there. And what we see now is just the trickle down effect from that. Although, of course, the internet does play a large part in it. And the culture, which, again, I'm pretty sure a lot of the culture is just derived from that. So it really is all like trickle down, unfortunately. And
Yeah.
also because I see that, unfortunately, and I noticed this the last time I went to Mass last Sunday. I noticed this. No, it was like 2 Sundays ago, actually. The priest, the verse that was said, one of them, I don't remember which one. It was something about, showing compassion or showing sympathy, helping the other, helping the stranger.
Right.
And my priest at this church that I go to spent a lot of time talking about how this is so necessary. This is so important. We don't show enough sympathy. And it's like you look at the world around you, it's, the church is out of touch. Unfortunately, and I don't like to critique the church, but it's true. We don't have a crisis of lack of sympathy. We have a crisis of too much sympathy.
Right.
We're giving too much to people and not looking out for our own. We're giving too much to strangers, not looking out for our own families, children, friends. We're giving too much to like random immigrants and stuff.
Right.
And, like, it's the exact opposite. And I think it is mainly that, like, the priests, like, unfortunately, this is just a consequence of being a priest. Most priests are old. And the fact that they're old means that they grew up, maybe when that was true, maybe back then there was a crisis of sympathy. We had so much and the poor African countries had so little. Now
Right.
that's not true, but they still keep pouting the line. And of course, I, as a young person, not even as a right winger, just as a young person, I listen to that and I cringe. I don't like going to church and hearing that. I don't want to hear that. And of course, going to church isn't about, believing in Christianity isn't liking what your priest says, obviously. So that's not a non-factor to me. But I know to a lot of people, it would break the appeal completely. And this is just one example of many, in my opinion.
No, it's spot on. It's sad, and I think that's kind of one of my prerogatives is understanding like how do we fix this? How do we get rid of this, if you will? Because it's across the board, and you're spot on. It's the same way when I come out and people are like, well, the woman and female problem is like 50-50, and it's like, no, it's not. Like if I go outside, like I can smell the feminism in the air. There's like, I have to like search for masculinity. Like there's no 50-50 to this problem whatsoever. Like maybe on an individual basis, you go very, very like micro level, possibly, but the more you zoom out, the more it's clear institutions captured by it, pastors captured by it, most parents captured by it. It's like there's some level of egalitarianism or some move away from patriarchy, some move away from the natural kind of order of things. What I don't understand is that, which is, how are they so out of touch? Because before the church would, the pastors, I would presume, when they're designing like what should the message be, I would imagine they take into effect what they think the country's going through, what they think the community's going through, and they would kind of surmise this is what the best message would be for this day if they didn't already have like some kind of plan or lesson plan or whatever. And exactly spot on there. They're out here giving messages. They might as well be talking to brick walls. Nobody needs to be hearing some of these messages. Like you're talking to nobody. Nobody needs this message. The same way that I think Christianity here in America has become very, very gospel centric. Not that that's a bad thing, but it's almost like lying by omission. That a lot of people can tell you Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, but they couldn't tell you shit about the rest of them. They can't tell you anything else about the rest of the Bible. So they only have like a fraction of the idea, and that lends itself into being like, don't judge, and it's like, F the rest of like that verse that has like literally like 2 more paragraphs attached to it. And all of these kind of like pseudo beliefs that ultimately I think lend people to being in a very heretical place, which is like they only have one side of like what the truth is, which is the nice aspect. You need the law too. You need the love and the friendship and the relationship, but you need the law as well. And I have a hard time not being angry at people older than me. I don't know if you have them the same way, but I look at a lot of guys older than me, and I do have that thought of like, how did you watch your country get raped and you did nothing? Like, what were we doing? Because for me, it's like when I was 19 years old, I was completely involved into politics because I was so like, why? Why is this happening? Why am I having to suffer and like all these things occurring? But it seemed like anybody 10 years older than me was like, just get along, man. Who cares? Just get along. And it's like, no, like, what do you mean? That's not a good solution. And so I'm curious if you feel that in Portugal, you guys have like this animosity between younger people and older people.
Yeah, I'm like politicians never talk about this because they don't want to alienate either side. But I do think there is like always increasing, always going up resentment from the young people to the old people, like always, all the time. Whether it's because they're stealing all our taxes through pensions, whether they're brown beating us, talking to us, like talking down to us about a country that no longer exists, the country they live in completely different from ours, like
Right.
everything, the difference in culture and politics, yeah, there is absolutely. And you said you were asking about, how are we going to fix this problem, for example, with the priests, where they're just giving the completely wrong message. I didn't have, I only had, I think, experiences with 3 different priests. So I used to go to one church and I went to another, and now I go to another. And when two of those, which was the first and now this one, have old priests, and they're giving, these egalitarian messages of equality or whatever. And then the church in the middle, which was by this pastor who was, or by this priest who was actually very young for the role. He was like he was like a bit 1 or 2 years less than 40, which again, for a priest, that's very young. He was completely into it. He wasn't like a right-wing radical. He was just a normal person, not political.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't talk about that. He didn't have that cultural poison in him. And I think then the only way that this can be solved is simply like the older priests who have this retarded message, they're going to die off. And they're going to be replaced by younger priests who actually know what the score.
Yeah.
But then again, when we say, how are we going to fix this? We're talking about it almost like it's a political project. The church isn't politics. That it is two different things. And I think, unfortunately, what's going to happen is we're going to have to fix our country first before the church fixes itself with younger priests. Unfortunately, we're going to have to kick all these immigrants out while our own priests are going to be wagging their finger at us. Kind of.
Right.
And I don't want to make this comparison. I don't know how, because I don't know too much about this history. I don't want to go too far. But during like Hitler's time, a lot of the enemies of him were Catholic priests. And I don't know if the situations were similar, but I would assume we're probably something similar probably going to happen. I'm not going to kill any priests, and I'm not going to support killing priests because they have the wrong political opinion. But it's probably going to be something like that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
But that's the definitive on all levels, which is like, even in America, it's like we're not even paying attention to the left wing anymore. It's like they're out of the conversation. It's like your idea is lost, go away. They're not going to win for a long time. So it's like a bunch of the fighting on the finer lines between the right among itself, and that being the cultural element. And I do think you're right. Well, I would argue, I think, especially in America, I think there's a stronger tie to the structuring of our laws and just the prioritization and the hierarchy of who we are as people. I think a lot of that's a lot more maybe tighter blended in with our government structure, but it still draws the point, which is my big thing. And maybe you think differently, maybe you completely disagree, but my big thing has always been, when I look at some of the people in the movement that I think are doing some of the best work, outside of Nick, generally what they have is they are married, or they have kids, or they've already got some level of success going on. But then I see the majority of the guys who are in the live chat, or who want to do something and want to move on, but are maybe they're just crashing out or something. They don't have a wife, they don't have kids, and they're stuck in this kind of incel group. What I've always thought is the men who would fight the hardest for anything is because they have something to fight for, which is when you think of World War, all of those photos and imagery from even the movies, as fake as they may be, when guys are fighting, they pull out that photo and it's a photo of their wife and kids. And it's that's why I am fighting for this thing. But my fear is what happens if in 10 years, this male-female problem keeps going, and we do have a 70% ratio of men who are just unmarried, who don't have anything to fight for and can't see any purpose in fighting. That's why I've kind of reoriented a little bit. I think for maybe it might be different depending on countries, but I think here in America, if we don't get ahead of that now, I do think we'll basically just we'll lose on the birth rate alone. We'll just lose by default by the fact of so many men basically just disparticipated. They just left the entire market and said, I don't care. And part of me is sitting here going, I can't blame them, because I look at the average female and I'm that's disgusting. I would never shackle myself that to my life. So I'm stuck here going, what's the solution to that? And part of that is the church, which is the church needs to be getting stronger messages out to the females in their pews, which is no, you need to be listening to your husbands. You need to not have a loud mouth. No, you don't need to wear yoga pants every day. No, you don't need to see Craig on the weekends. No, you don't need a personal trainer, Starbucks. But the church isn't doing that. So it's kind of like a catch. It's we have all these issues, and it's I have these solutions, but it's time, and we got to get people and more of our guys in these positions. My thought is, though, do we have enough time for that to happen?
Like, and I think America is maybe a lot closer to collapse than what Portugal is, at least in the kind of current sense that we know it. But those are some of the things that I fear. How bad is the women problem in Portugal though? Is it as bad as it is in America?
Yeah, because when your culture is Americanized, you're just gonna get all the problems with it, and exactly. And it also, let's not forget, it's easy, I think, as an American to forget, but remember that it's your social media companies. They are the top 5, not of America, but of the world.
Interesting. Yeah.
Everyone uses Facebook, not just Americans. Everyone uses Instagram. Everyone uses YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, everything. So all the problems that are caused by those social medias, every other European country has the exact same problems. And especially, Instagram, women posting fucking booty pics or whatever. It's
Yep.
exactly as bad. Like, I'm walking down the street and like, I don't know how the fuck this happens. I'm walking down the street and no, look, I'm not trying to look, I'm not trying, I know I'm a man, but I'm not trying to look. I'm just trying to go forward. But you just look at these, there's like 13-year-old girls dressed as total whores hanging out on the streets, like just walking. Like,
Yep.
and you just like, you just question, how the fuck does that happen? How do we get to that? How is our culture so fucked up? It produces parents who produce this girl and let her leave buy her clothes like this and let her leave the house like that. How does that happen? I don't know. But you were talking about and I actually disagree with you. You were saying men who have something worth fighting for fight harder than men who have nothing.
Yeah.
No, I completely disagree. Because if you have something to go back home to, you want to go home. When you're fighting a war, or because I think it's different. When you're literally in a battlefield, you're stuck there. It's not like you can just go back home. But when you're in a political conflict, you make a choice every day to work towards that political conflict, while the option to leave is always there. If you run an anonymous account that posts Nick Fuentes clip, at any moment you could just quit. Nothing is stopping you from doing that.
Right.
And I think if you have a wife, if you have children, if you have a job and you have responsibilities, that option is always more appealing. But if you are, loser, incel at your home, working some dead-end job, doing nothing, playing video games all day, that's like kind of, everyone has this energy that they can put towards something. And the only two choices are like, you're going to put your energy to that, or you're going to put your energy to the end of a barrel of a gun or something,
Yes.
So I actually think for a political conflict, men who have nothing to lose are much more valuable than pussy whipped, I was gonna say the word F word, that word, wife guys who, have their daughters and their wife and whatever, and their 3 divorces.
Yes. I agree and disagree. I agree in the sense that yes, but I would go to the Bible and say, how many men do you think are actually like me, like you, like Nick, like Paul, who would be able to throw away sexual pleasures of this life in search of a higher goal? I think that's only really applicable to like literally some of like the better men. But I do agree with you. I think men who know they're in that position, who have a stronger mission goal or life goal, especially political, or it requires great level of sacrifice, you're going to have an easier time doing that without a family to always have to think about, without always having to make extra measures to protect them. I just think from the purview
But what you said,
oh, go ahead.
I just want to, sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to point on this. You said like people like you, me, Nick, etc. It's like, but we are, when you're a YouTuber, you're a leader with an audience. You're a leader with followers.
Right.
When you're a political leader like Nick, you're a leader with followers. We're not asking people to be leaders. We only really need like 1 or 2 leaders per country.
Right.
Like, Nick is for America, Afonso Gonçalves is here for Portugal, etc. But I'm talking specifically about the followers. You're saying, oh, well, if they're always looking for women or whatever, but I'm specifically talking about the people who can't. If they could, it would be one thing. But if these like mostly normal people can't, that actually works in our favor. because like that's basically like we're recruiting more cult members to our cause
I get
automatically.
I get that. I guess when I think about it, maybe it is different, because when I think about it, a lot of the guys that like you could define here in America that are followers are beer guzzling. They laugh about having small penises, and they can't be bothered to lift a finger to do anything. That's like they care about sports ball and women. And I think that there's a general kind of trope where a lot of guys basically kind of throw themselves at females, and it consumes them. They obsess over it. And I think there is a part where it's like, if that access was easier, maybe they could get past that hump of having to prove it to a female, and they would develop and mature a bit earlier on. Ultimately, I don't think it's the most important thing in the world. I just fear on the other end of that, like, sure, they're useful, right? The cult members, but I fear radicalization going as far as like Islam, where men see so little purpose in ever trying to, marry or have a family or live for anything greater than themselves or legacy wise, that they go, okay, give me that bomb. I'll strap it to my chest. What building? Because that's what a lot of the Middle East is. You see the sexual access. So you see majority of these guys, partly too with the jihad and their beliefs, but also it's like, it's already hard enough for them to have a family. So what's the point? I might as well go get them 70 virgins. This would be my best chance to make a mark anywhere. And so I just fear, like, on the back end, what does that radicalization do if that problem doesn't improve? Because what I don't want, and I'm glad Nick talked about this a little bit ago, we do have problems, like even in our Discord, we got to clean it out, because I do get guys who come in who genuinely harbor like extreme hatred towards whether it's women or whether it's people of different races. And it's like, I get it, but I'm a Christian first. And as much as I do believe race is real, I still want to make sure I'm walking that fine line, that I'm not harboring pure hatred and contempt for somebody. I just want to not have to suffer for it. I want them out of my country. I want them gone. I want the races recognized for their differences. We stop lying about that we're all one race, right? Let's move past this stuff. But I do think ultimately there does come a line where I think, for me personally, the most important thing is that I think someone needs to be oriented towards God and Jesus Christ. That can't change. And so I think once that someone might be crossing that threshold of like their hatred towards somebody else, are you moving away from God? Is there a clean break away from Jesus Christ here? And that's kind of what I kind of get myself concerned with too. Because at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't want to go to hell because like I went too hard. And ultimately, like I kind of lost sight of what the bigger picture is. And so I'm kind of curious if you have those thoughts, you experience having to, dealing with Fed posting or neo-Nazis, or like you had said right earlier, like these retard, like low IQ, like guys who just want to scream and yell. And it makes us look bad. It brings the optics down because it's very low IQ stuff.
Yeah. I wanted to first say the comment on one thing you said at the beginning. You were talking about, the average person, beer guzzling, retard, sports ball watcher. Well, we do have to remember that politics is of the minority. There's 100% of the population, and 80% are beer guzzling retards, and they don't matter, except, when we have to rally them to go vote one time. But the people who are actually doing politics is that 20% who are motivated, do care, they care more than the rest, I guess, and they do have other aspirations other than being retards. So like I don't really, you're talking about how do we convince these people? I don't actually think, I'm always shitting on football, sports ball watchers, which, a lot of people would say that's a bad thing that I'm doing, because Portugal is such a, we are the Cristiano Ronaldo. We are supposed to be the number one, the biggest football watchers. I'm always shitting on them because, I don't care about those people. They will never do anything of matter in politics, in my opinion. So I don't care to convince those people. Those people can keep guzzling their beer. They don't matter, and they never will. But for the hate that you were talking about, yeah, that is true. There are, to me, I just don't know. Because, in terms of hate, of hatred, of wrath, especially like the sin wrath, that is one sin that I've never had a problem with, because I'm not an angry person. Okay. I never like lash out. I never hit people. I never like start screaming or whatever.
I am. I'm on the complete opposite side of that.
So we are kind of opposites. Yeah,
Yeah.
that just isn't part of me. But I do see, there are people who, they got red pilled 5 minutes ago. It's more like they got black pilled 5 minutes ago. They see how dire the situation is, and they're not intelligent enough, or they don't know enough to understand how a path could form where we get out of this. So they're just like, we have to do something. Well, I'm a total like bum who does, it's like those jihadists. I don't have anything except my body. So if you want a bomb, put it on me. There are those people, but in Portugal, I was talking before about these like skinhead groups. They naturally gravitate towards those groups, which is actually a good thing because that
Right.
means they don't then come to us. And if they're over there and we're over here, that actually works out in our favor. We're the ones
Yeah.
that benefit from that. So
What?
because and also, I say my show is also for the high IQ. I don't do a show for the masses necessarily. I do a show more for the people who are smarter. And generally, smarter people do understand this type of stuff. And so I don't get that kind of those kinds of people that much.
No, I get that. Because that's one thing that's just been an annoying thing, especially when you think about it from like all of the other times, like in groups, like Discord groups basically get like, not full blown RICO cases, but they will basically throw you all in a group. If you have any kind of even like halfway mission statement, they'll straight up say like, oh, you're an organization and we're going to treat you like as if you were a gang. And so at least here, there's
one thing. I don't know if the chat is seeing this, but sometimes you just cut off, like for like 1 or 2 seconds. I don't know if that's just me or if that also chat can see this. Let me wait for their answer. Because you were saying, because normally you cut off at a like connection between two phrases, so it's fine. But this
Yeah.
time you cut off for like the entire second part of that, so I didn't hear you.
Oh, I apologize. My bad.
Yeah.
Maybe just a bit of
I don't know if that's just me. If that's just me, I'll just restart my Discord. It's just you. It's on your end. Okay, let me like restart my Discord real quick. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, but you can keep thinking about that so you can come back and.
No, you're good. Yeah, I was confused for a second. I was it's like I have no idea. It looks good on my end. Now I kind of forgot where we were going from there, to be honest with you. But no, this is very engaging. There's a lot of strong minds in this kind of group with all like little slightly bit of differences there. But that was kind of perfect timing. I do have to get ready to start getting ready. I have an appearance with Tyler Russell, but I still have a few minutes. So I wanted to open the floor to you. Anything that you wanted to say to my audience while you have the floor, anything we didn't address or maybe you thought we would get to and we didn't. And shout out all your links to anything people where they can find you, all of your websites, YouTube channel, all that jazz. Go ahead.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, x.com/ it's going to be a bit hard. Alexandre, how you say Alexander instead of ER, it's RE. That's how we say it in Europe. And then L and then Gazur, the way that you can see it in the YouTube title.
Yep.
On my YouTube, you just have to search Portugal and then primeiro, which is just first, but in Portuguese, you'll find my channel instantly. And the other links don't really matter that much, honestly. Those are just the main two for the English speakers. Because on X, you can translate. On YouTube, you get the subtitles translated. Other than that, anything else that we might want to talk about? I don't know. I think I would like just to make one point clear.
Yeah.
You do, as an American, see a lot of Twitter propaganda, especially from the right-wing slop accounts like Ian Miles Chong, about how, Europe is finished, Europe is over. It's very important to note that America is like, 50% white, almost, or like reaching that number.
Right.
Portugal, we're always, talking so badly about our situation. We're at least 80% white, and the official figures say 90. We believe it's like 85, 80. We're still way, we're bad. We're still way better off than you. So, like, if there's a political solution, it'll definitely happen to us first before you guys. But I would also like to say, and this is an important point, because there are a lot of people from Europe, from Portugal, who say, you know, why do you care about America so much? Well, like we were talking about the social media, a lot of what happens in America is then downstreamed to Europe, and then obviously to Portugal too. So if you guys become, you know, Joe Biden dictatorship for 1,000 years or Kamala Harris or whatever, that's going to negatively impact us too.
Right.
We, as the Portuguese and as right-wing nationalists, we want right-wing nationalists in America too. That is important to us. But that's
Interesting.
basically the last thing.
No, that makes sense, especially if America kind of dictates large social media policy globally. It's like, well, it would be imperative that you would be involved at least on that level.
Yeah.
All of your links are in the description as well. Anybody wants to find both your X and your YouTube, they all are in the description in the video below. Just scroll down, you'll find both of them there, close to the top. I do want to say thank you very much. I appreciate it greatly for you coming on. I know the timing and the coordination was a bit rough, but
that was my fault.
You're totally fine. It's all good. I can't do math either, so I'll take the blame on that as well.
I'm on Portuguese people time. There is the saying, you know, Portuguese people are never on time. You know, saying, "Oh, I'll be there at 4." You know, to a Portuguese person, you know, you'll be like at 4:30, sometime around that.
That's funny.
So I
So
guess
you're on
I'm
Nick
just
time.
keeping up with the stereotypes. Yeah, Nick time.
Yeah, you're on Nick time.
Also, just one more thing I wanted to
Yeah.
say, you know, Tyler Russell specifically, I used to watch his show before he went to America. And I just want to say, like I was saying to the American audience, you know, we over here in Portugal, we say it's bad. In Canada, you know, I just feel so bad for someone like Tyler Russell. It really is just over to an extent, like it's impossible for an American or a Portuguese person to even comprehend how over it is for that country and for him and his people. So you
Right.
know, you just gotta feel for a guy, you know.
I
So
know.
and you know, if you wanna, you know, if you're gonna put Tyler Russell here, since we're doing the Nick Multiverse thing, if he is okay with me showing up too, and we can have a 3-way conversation, I'll be fine with that.
Yeah.
But only if he wants to, of course. I don't want to nudge into an interview.
No,
that's
that's
not
totally
mine.
fine. Me and Tyler Russell, I'd say we became friends last time I had him on. I will forward over your information to him because I'm sure, even if I'm not even involved, I'm sure he would love to have you on and you guys can talk. It'd be a multiverse between just you two. But we can definitely do a
Right,
panel if
awesome.
we want to get all 3 of us on here. I'm a pretty good moderator. I think most people would agree with that. So
All right.
I'd love to do a discussion with that. And thank you very much for coming on, man. We're connected now and we're contacted in. So if you want to do this again sometime soon, definitely reach out to me. I would love to, especially if you want to do a joint coverage on something like that.
All
but
right.
With that, I always got to end. Ban women from public life. Jesus Christ is God. Christ is King. Deport Kash Patel. Pray for Portugal that they fend better than we do here in America. And Lord have mercy. Hopefully one day we will win this country back. And with that, this has been Offensively Accurate.
Amen.
Thank you once again, brother. I do appreciate it. And thank you to the audience for showing up. I appreciate it greatly. I will see you guys next time. Take care.
What's good, everybody? This is Alice Thug. As much as we have, it's currently a media blackout right now.
It's about a 10-minute video here. Get the libertarians out of this party, dude.
Part of a new series I'm going to be running called Bot or Not.
I grew up as a white man, and you're the exact opposite, you know?
It's time we have a difficult conversation about race.
40 IQ points it needs to think about what is being told to you.
Most people are just blatantly apathetic to what goes on around in their surroundings, let alone just blatantly.
A trans woman's penis make you gay?
Tried to find the answer to that comment.
The dating market is for men your age. I'm not a misogynist. I'm a sexist. Right. Like for example, like as a white man, I can go out and I could go right here in Columbus and scream the N-word as loud as I wanted to because I have that privilege. Those who would sacrifice a little freedom for a little convenience serves neither.
Titan says, Browns should be for whites. We were just trying them run a better empire.
Hey, truth.
But she's straight up, she's like, stock market. She's like, bro, like, I can't even buy a fucking house. Like,
And, you know, it probably doesn't help that half the comments are, how are you not banned on YouTube? Man, how is this guy? How is this guy not banned on YouTube? It's like, yeah, I'm sure YouTube probably picks up on those things. And they're probably wondering why so many people are saying that, you know?
and all these top brass pundits who have some kind of association or relationship with Epstein, you know, it's getting to the point where you got to think like I'm about to go look at my residential history and be like, did I live next to Epstein for like some time? Like, man, everyone on this planet must have some relation to Epstein. And then you go, oh, actually, no. This is because the administration is all wrapped in together with it themselves.
And I said this maybe about a year ago. You know, what if Christianity wasn't in such a cucked position that what if Andrew Tate, like Tristan, would have went to a Christian position? Fell for it again award, #1 right here. And you know what? I can't even make fun of the audience because I fell for it too. And that's probably what I'm most pissed about. He's huffing some extreme copium. Oh yeah, sister, you definitely owned him. Hey, can I see you after tonight? You know, it's like that's that's what you're competing up against because or bad jacketing him and calling him a weird little gay.
Is this like alt-right corpse husband? What am I listening
Yeah.
Okay, stop it. This guy's gonna get into statistics, stuff like that.
Oh, no, statistics, not
So-
on the show. We don't do statistics.